بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين، حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. قال الله تعالى في كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض ومن أنفسهم ومما لا يعلمون. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Our salawat for the love of the Ahl al-Bayt alayhim salam.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
As we approach the nights of Qadr, the nights of destiny, one of the issues that comes to mind is, what should I do dua for? What should I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for? We have a night that is worth more than 1,000 months. The dua is accepted because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَقَالَ رَبُّكُمْ ادْعُونِي أَسْتَجِبْ لَكُمْ. Call upon me and I shall answer you. And numerous other verses in the Quran, أَمَّنْ يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ. Oh, he who answers. You believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answers. So we ask Allah for many things. One of the things that's on many people's mind is the dua to find a spouse, the dua to find a suitable partner. And you find that this dua, sometimes it's done by the youth. They just finished high school, they just finished college, they're doing this dua. And you also find some of the adults also, they do this dua as well. Probably someone, she's a widow, or a husband, he lost his wife, or someone who got divorced. And this is a dua that many people have on their mind. And it's very common to see people doing this dua, asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help them get married, asking Allah to help them find a suitable spouse. And you see this going on all the time. Many times I go to communities, I see someone, either a mother, she's telling me do dua for my son, or a father, do dua for my son, or some of the youth, they say do dua for me. And we do dua. We do dua for them. We pray for them. Go to ziyarah, you go to hajj, wherever you go, the month of Ramadan, you pray for them. Then you go back the next year to the community and you see that this person is not married. You go back a year later and this person is still insisting, do dua for me. But you see that this person is still not married. What's the problem? Why is this person not married when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, call upon me and I shall answer you? The answer is just like any dua, just like any other dua that we do. There are two main dimensions to a dua. One is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the other is the individual. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I will answer you, I will give you. You ask me with sincerity and I will give you, I will make the matters easy for you. But if you do not do anything to change If you do not take a step forward, then nothing's going to happen. Someone's doing dua to be cured from a disease, but they're not taking medication, and they keep doing dua and crying and doing amman yujib. Allah says, I will cure, but there's a route for me to cure you. Someone is doing dua to get a job. Yes, you do dua. This is a main portion, main dimension of dua. However, if you don't go work, if you don't go and change, then you're not going to get the job. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُوا مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not change the matters of a community until they decide on changing themselves. And the same thing is said regarding marriage, regarding finding a spouse. You find that there are many obstacles when it comes to marriage. There are many socially constructed obstacles. We create these challenges. We create these obstacles that come in the way of marriage, that come in the way of family building, and it keeps delaying marriage. It keeps delaying the process of building a family. And these are challenges that we deal with on a daily basis because we live in a culture, we live in a society that has gotten used to delaying marriage. You find some people, they're in their 40s and they're still not married. They're still looking to get married, still looking to find a spouse. When before, decades, just a few decades ago, people were getting married when they were much younger. So, what are the challenges? What comes in the way, in the pathway towards marriage? There are many things that we have created that make marriage very difficult. The first is the excuse of education. And then after the education, I have to find a job. After finding a job, I have to buy a house. I can't bring a wife without a house. And then after you buy a house, I have to finish my mortgage. I have loans. And these are some of the reasonable excuses. There are also other excuses that are not reasonable. You find some people, you tell them it's time for you to get married, right away they'll be honest. They'll be very honest. They say, no, I want to have fun first. I want to go and have fun. Then later on, once I decide on settling down, that's when I'm going to go and get married. And you find both people, both genders say this, the men and the women today. It's become very common. And then another excuse, you tell them, okay, now you have a job, you have a car, you have a house, you have everything. What's wrong? I haven't found the right person. I have to find my Fatima. This is what something that you hear a lot of people saying now. I have to find my Fatima to Zahra. It's as if he's living like Ali ibn Abi Talib. Or she says, I have to find my Ali, as if she's living like Fatima to Zahra. This is one of the excuses that makes marriage, these are socially constructed. We create these obstacles in front of marriage. And then you found the person, you got your job, you have your degree, you did everything. Now it's time to actually get married. Now I have to prepare for the wedding. I have to go and get my bridesmaids' dresses. I have to get the shoes. I have to get so many obstacles. So many obstacles are created in the way of marriage. And these are some of the things that delay the marriage. These are what delay the process of getting married. Whereas when we look at the religion of Islam, we see Islam, one of the easiest things in the religion of Islam is to get married. And one of the most difficult things is the process of divorce. For example, the hukum shar'i, the fiqh rule, when it comes to marriage, we, the followers of the Ahlul Bayt, it is mustahab, it is recommended to have witnesses. But if you don't have witnesses, this is a natural process that has to take place. You get married, even if you don't have witnesses. But when it comes to the divorce, one of the conditions for the divorce to take place is to have two just witnesses. And the conditions of witnesses have to be met. If one witness was there, if there were two witnesses, but one of them was not just, or both of them were not just, there's going to be a problem with that divorce. You see how the religion of Islam facilitates and it makes marriage easy and it makes divorce difficult. But today, we live in a society that is completely the opposite. Getting divorced is very easy. Right away, you call a lawyer, and the next day you get divorced. It'll be very easy. Yes, there are problems. There are problems that will emerge later on because it's a dispute. However, getting divorced is very easy. And this is why we see that it's very common. It's very prevalent in society, in our communities. But marriage, it's not as common, and it becomes very difficult. Another obstacle when it comes, as I mentioned, to getting married is the wedding. Just this wedding, it creates such a big headache for so many people. You have to go and get the flowers, the dress, the bridesmaids, the shoes, the hall, the food, so many things. Today, the average wedding in the United States cost around $30,000. $30,000. This is spent right in the beginning, the first day where you want to start a family. Where a lot of people, they start off a relationship, they start off a family going into loan. I was researching some of the main causes of divorce, main reasons of divorce in the United States. One of them was having an expensive wedding. When they have an expensive wedding, because that's going to cause problems later on. You have this money, $30,000, rather than putting it on a mortgage, rather than putting it on a down payment to buy a house, to start a family, you find that so much, and this is just the average. There are many that spend more. That money, it's gone right away for one night for other people to come and say, MashaAllah, they had a nice wedding. This is all. Weddings are for the people. Yes, of course, in the religion of Islam, it's mustahab, it's recommended to have a walima. It's recommended to invite people, to declare that these people are getting married, to celebrate. But once it goes over the border, once it goes so far, it becomes very difficult. People, they want to get married, they say, no, I can't, because society and the community expects me to have this type of wedding. And if I don't have that, then let me delay my wedding. And in the process, the acts of haram could be committed. And this becomes a sin. It becomes haram. So we see that Islam, on the other hand, it makes marriage and the process of getting married very easy and very simplified. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us to interact. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us to socialize. We were not created to live as loners. We were not created to live alone. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ وَنَعْلَمُ مَا تُوَسْوِسُ بِهِ نَفْسُهُ وَنَحْنُ أَقْرَبُ إِلَيْهِ مِنْ حَبْلِ الْوَرِيدِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what's best for me. He is closer to me than my own jugular vein. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He created me, He tells me, I created you for the sake of worship. Because He knows that my worship with Allah, it's going to make me live better. It's going to make me be a better human being. And He also created me to socialize. We have two main purposes. One is to connect with Allah, and the other purpose in life is to connect with people. There are some that say, no, I just connect with Allah. I don't need to get a spouse. I don't need to build it. I don't need to socialize. No, that's not the case. There were some companions that came to the Prophet. They told Rasulullah, oh Rasulullah, we don't get married. We spend the whole night worshipping. We are fasting every single day. And then they told the Prophet, نَحْنُ أَعْبَدْ مِنْكَ. We are better worshippers than you. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, he told them, I get married. He told them, some days I break my fast and other days I'm fasting. Some days I go to my spouse, other days I'm worshipping. Some days I'm praying the whole night, and some hours I'm sleeping during the night. And then he tells them, وَأَنَا أَعْبَدْ مِنْكُمْ. But I am a better servant of Allah than you. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us to socialize. This is why the hadith says that the prayers, and you see that they are reciprocal to one another, the ibadah and the connection with people, socializing. The hadith says that the prayers of the person who is married, they are worth 70 times more than the prayers of the one who is not married. What's the correlation? If it's just prayers with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I could be praying. What does my marriage have to do with it? What does my socializing have to do with it? But this is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us. He knows what's best for us. When you are married, you are fulfilling one main principle, one main need that you have. And once you fulfill that need, you will be able to worship better. You will be able to socialize better. You will be able to deal with people better. So we see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made marriage easy because He knows that it is better for us. We are in need of socializing. And not only marriage, we are in need of praying. For example, a prayer, you could pray it alone, but if you pray it in congregation, in jama'ah, the thawab is much more. Why? Because Allah wants you to socialize. You could eat alone, but it's recommended to eat with a group of people. It's recommended to eat with the community, eat with the family. Why? It will strengthen your bond with the community. And once you have that, that will bring you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us to socialize because we were created in pairs. سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض ومن أنفسهم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Subhan alladhi, all glory is to Allah who created everything in pairs. Azwaja kullaha. Mimma tumbitul ard. What comes out of the earth, the trees, we don't realize it, we don't see it. But the trees are also created in pairs. وَمِنْ أَنفُسِهِمْ, and out of yourselves. The humans, Allah created two genders. Why? For the sake of reproduction. For the sake of socializing, for the sake of finding someone. And وَمِمَّا لَا يَعْلَمُونَ, what you do not know. There are so many things that we don't realize. For example, now science is saying that even the atoms, it has a proton and it has an electron. Even to the smallest of the creation, it's also created in pairs. This is the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah created us to socialize. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us to be together. وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا. From the signs of Allah, from the miracles of Allah, is that He created for you from amongst yourselves spouses so that you may find sukoon. لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً. And He placed the mawaddah, the love, and the hearts in the the love in the hearts of the ones who are getting married. And this is a very important point. A lot of people, when it comes to getting married, when it comes to finding a spouse, they say, I have to fall in love, and then I will get married. Right? Isn't this what everyone says here? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who created us, the one who knows what's better for me. وَنَحْنُ أَقْرَبُ إِلَيْهِ مِنْ حَبْلِ الْوَرِيدِ. The one who is closer to me than my jugular vein, He says, وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً. Allah places the mawaddah, and the love, and the mercy in the hearts after the sacred union, after the bond, after Allah makes you halal upon one another. That is when the real mawaddah shall come in place. That is when the real love and real mercy will come to place. Now, what is the pathway to getting married? Just like everything, it has a pathway. Everything, it has a route. What is the pathway to getting married? We mentioned earlier that many times people do dua and they see that 1 year, 2 years, 3 years pass and they're still not married. So what is the pathway? Because a dua by itself, it will not bring solutions. You need to have the dua supplemented with action, supplemented with work, supplemented with dedication. That is the only way that the dua will be accepted. One key route, one key pathway towards placing an individual on the track to getting married A lot of people, they say, I have to find a spouse. I have to find the person to get married. But before finding the person, I have to find myself. You find yourself, you will be able to find the person. The problem today, we live in a society where people, they have identity struggles. They do not know what they want. They don't know what their desires are, what their passions are. Because it's natural. You turn on the TV, you pick up your phone, you go online. You're constantly fed with other people's lives. You have reality shows. I was mentioning yesterday how we're obsessed with looking at what other people are doing. Today, there are reality TV shows where people are constantly looking at what other people are doing, how they're living their lives. When we're constantly looking at others, we're going to find it difficult to find ourselves. And when you don't know yourself, how do you expect to find another person? How do you expect to find another person that you will live your life with? Someone that is compatible with you. This is why it's very important to find yourself. You find some individuals, tell them, you want to get married? Yes. What are your conditions? What are you looking for? I want a lady that prays Salatul Layl every night. I want a lady that wears the best hijab. I want this and that. Yes, there's nothing wrong with wanting that. But are you also living that lifestyle? Are you also living that lifestyle? Or you are living one lifestyle, and then when it comes to getting married, you make up so much excuses and so many conditions that are very difficult to meet. Find yourself. Know what kind of a person you are. Know what kind of a person you want to be with. Then it will be very easy for you to find a person who is similar to you. Finding yourself, this is one of the first key elements to getting married, to placing yourself on the track to getting married. Because it's easy to just say, yes, I want to get married, yes, do dua for me. But I haven't struggled, I haven't thought for a moment, for an hour, I haven't contemplated what kind of a person I am, what are my desires, how do I want to live my life. Once you know how you want to live your life, once you know what you want to do, then you will be able to find another person. Because then you will tell them, when you find the person, you'll tell them, this is what I want, A, B, C, D, this is what I want. Then it will be very easy to find a person. You'll know what you want. The second element that will place you on the path to success, the path to getting married and building a family, it is to let go of the habits that keep me away from getting married. There are many, and this is especially with the youth, there are many habits that come in the way of getting married. You find someone, he says, I want to get married, but his lifestyle, it's not the lifestyle of someone who wants to get married. Every day, alhamdulillah, every week, every month, out with someone. Every day, talking to someone. If you're constantly talking to other people, you're not putting yourself on the pathway to get married. Because when someone is sincere in getting married, they will talk to one person. They will talk to one person, and they will be very serious when they talk to that one person. But if you're talking to 5, 6 people here and there at the same time, that will create obstacles. That will create many obstacles in the way of getting married. And second, some of the bad habits that stop people from getting married, there are some bad habits that some people resort to self-satisfaction, self-sexual satisfaction. I don't want to mention them on the minbar here, but you all know what I mean. These habits, what they do is, first of all, it creates an illusion, thinking that you are satisfying yourself, when in fact you're just looking at something haram or performing an act of haram, when it is not real satisfaction. It's not true satisfaction, it's fake satisfaction. That satisfaction, it will not bring happiness. It may bring happiness for a second, but it will not fulfill the needs that a marriage is supposed to fulfill. Marriage, it fulfills the social needs, the psychological needs, the spiritual needs, the physical needs, the financial needs. But that one, it's just creating an illusion of a quick satisfaction. Second, it objectifies others. It objectifies women specifically. When someone is satisfying themselves in the haram way, that creates an illusion, a mindset where looking at the female just as an object of sexual satisfaction, and that's it, nothing else. And that is also something that will have many effects on an individual. Third, it contributes to the delaying of marriage. You find many people, they're not married. Why? Because they've already found a way to satisfy themselves in the haram. That's, first of all, that is not real satisfaction. That's an illusion. But what it does is it constantly delays the process of marriage. It delays the need for marriage, and that will create other problems later on in society. And fourth, it potentially destroys your marriage once you actually do get married. Because when someone is used to a bad habit of constantly resorting to a quick self-satisfaction, once a person gets married, maybe 10 years into their marriage, 5 years into their marriage, as soon as they get into a disagreement, as soon as they get into a fight, it will be very easy for them to leave. It will be very easy for them to leave and walk out of the marriage, walk out of the relationship. Because finding a self-satisfaction in the haram way has become very easy. It's very easy to go and satisfy yourself in the haram way. So, on the other hand, you see that controlling the desires, controlling the self, and letting go of these bad habits, it will right away put you on the track to get married. Because if someone has controlled their desires, then they will be more dedicated towards the process of finding a spouse. They will be in a rush to go and find someone in a halal way. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala creates solutions when you have taqwa. Allah says, وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهِ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ. The one who has taqwa in Allah, يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا. Allah will create a solution to all of your problems. وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ. And Allah will send the sustenance and answer this person's problems, bring solutions to this person's problems in a way that this person did not even think about. When you control your desires, when you let go of the bad habits, Allah will open the doors for you. Allah will make it easier for you. There's a story of one of our scholars by the name of Sayyid Muhammad Baqir Mir Damad, or Sayyid Baqir Mir Damad. This story took place in Isfahan, in the city of Iran, in Isfahan, the city of Isfahan. There was a Amir, there was a prince. This Amir, he had a daughter. The princess, one day the princess, she went out of the palace, she went out of the house, and to go and visit friends or family. She stayed there a little bit longer. Then, once she left to come back, it had become dark, and probably there was a storm or something happened where she got lost. She couldn't find her way, and it was too dark to find her way back to her house. This was a story many years ago, probably over 100, 200 years ago. I don't know exactly. But it's a known story, and this scholar is a known scholar. The scholar that I will mention his name, Sayyid Baqir Mir Damad. This princess, she got lost. So once she got lost, she said, where is she going to go right now? In the darkness of the night, she's going to get lost. And she's a princess. If people find out who she is, she's probably going to be susceptible to danger. So as she was walking, she found a hawza almiya, a madrasa, a school. She found a school for talaba, for seminary students. She said, this is the safest place for me to go. She goes, she knocks on the door, it's nighttime. There was one person in the school at that time, and that was one student by the name of Baqir. This young student, he was there studying and reading. She comes and she tells him her story, how she got lost, and she's in need to stay the night somewhere. Then the next day she'll know the way. At first, he tells her no, because he tells her, I'm the only one in the school today. Everyone is gone, and I'm the only one in the school, and I'm staying in my room. That the schools, if you've been to the Middle East, you see that some of the schools, they were rooms, and in the middle there's a garden, there's a yard. So he has one room in that school. He says, I'm in my room, and I don't have the keys to the other rooms. All the other rooms are locked. She kept insisting. She tells him, it's nighttime, I'm afraid. So he allowed her to enter. He brought her in, but the only place that he could bring her is inside his room. He brings her in his room, but then he goes out of the room. He doesn't want to be in the room alone with her. He's a student of a hawza, he's a scholar, he's studying. So he goes out, and she goes in the room, and right away she sleeps. He goes out of the room, but it becomes too cold. What is he supposed to do? Stay the whole night outside the room? He goes in the room for a short while. Shaitan comes to him. When he goes in the room, Shaitan comes to him. There's a young princess, a beautiful lady. She's in the room sleeping right there, right in front of you. What does he do? He leaves the room. It's too cold. He comes in the room. What is he supposed to do? Shaitan comes to him. The only way for him to distract himself away from Shaitan, he had a small candle in front of him. He takes his finger and he places it on the fire. He places his finger on the fire until his finger burns. Then he brings his finger away, and he's occupied with the pain of his finger being burnt. Once the pain goes away, Shaitan comes to him again. He goes and he puts his other finger. He places his next finger on the fire, and then he takes his finger away. Once it's burned, he's occupied with the pain, and then Shaitan comes to him again. He kept doing this until the sun came out. This is how he occupied himself, by not doing haram, by reminding himself of the fire, reminding himself of the burning of the fire. The next day in the morning, this princess, she went out and she went to her father's home. Her father, he became suspicious. He kept asking her, what happened? Where were you? She tells him, nothing happened to me. I went to this madrasa, to this school, and there was this young man. He calls the guards. The guards, they come and they bring this man. They're very suspicious of this man. The young man, he doesn't say to the king, to the emir, what he had done. But it becomes very apparent. They see the signs, they see the burned fingers, and the daughter, she realizes that this young man was burning his finger to occupy himself, to not falling in the haram. The king, he realized, he tells this young man, you can marry my daughter. This young man who did not have anything, he was a poor man living in a school, in dorms. He tells him, you can marry my daughter. This young man, his name is Sayyid Baqir Mir Damad. Mir means Amir, the prince. Damad means the son-in-law of the prince. Sayyid Baqir Mir Damad. He is one of our scholars today, and he has many books. And this was his story of how he got married. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهِ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبْ. He who has taqwa in Allah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will create a solution to every problem, and the rizq, the sustenance will come in a way that you did not imagine. This young man, he'd never imagined that he will get married to the daughter of the king. But because he stopped himself from doing haram, he controlled himself, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created a solution for him. So that was the second point. Letting go of the habits, the bad habits that come in the way, that potentially delay the marriage. Third way in preparing and placing myself on the pathway to marriage is to prepare myself financially, to prepare myself to get married. Because this is the first excuse that many people have. You tell them it's time for you to get married, right away they say, Sayyid, I don't have the money. Sayyid, how am I going to support a family? Yes, that's very true. No one's going to be able to support a family if they don't prepare themselves, if they don't prepare themselves for financial independence. This is why it is a religious duty for an individual to go and seek knowledge. It is a religious duty for an individual to go and work. مَنْ لَا مَعَاشَ لَهُ لَا مَعَادَ لَهُ. He who does not work and does not have a salary, the hadith says, does not have an afterlife. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks of us. You have to go and work. You have to go and struggle. Of course, maybe some people, they find it difficult to find a job. They go and they look for a job. The important thing is that you look, you struggle, you strive. That's what's important. Placing yourself on the pathway to getting married, this is one of the key elements, to go and work. How are you going to work? Maybe you have to go and educate yourself. Maybe you have to go to a university. You have to go and struggle. That's what you have to do. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَأَنْكِحُوا الْأَيَامَ مِنْكُمْ وَالصَّالِحِينَ مِنْ عِبَادِكُمْ وَإِمَائِكُمْ إِنْ يَكُونُوا فُقَرَاءَ يُغْنِهُمُ اللَّهُ مِنْ فَضْلِهِ وَاللَّهُ وَاسِعٌ عَلِيمٌ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about marriage, and then He says, if they are poor, Allah will make them rich from His fadl. This is one place in the Quran where Allah talks about how someone could get rich. One of the ways of making money and getting rich is through getting married. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed solutions in the Quran. How could someone get rich when they get married? First, it's natural. Once you're married, you're going to struggle. Rather than spending your nights, rather than spending many hours at night, or going and wasting them in restaurants and places to eat, on a car, on shoes, on clothes, you're going to be spending them on a spouse. You're going to be spending them on building a family. It's natural. It comes that way. And second, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the power to place barakah in people's money. You find some people, they probably have a lot of money, but there's no barakah, there's no blessing in that money. You see that everyday expenses here and there, it's being wasted. And it does not bring them happiness. And on the other side, you find certain individuals that don't have very much. But that very little that they have, it brings them satisfaction. It brings them happiness. This is Allah placing barakah, blessing in that money. It may be $1, but that $1, it will be worth more in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It carries more, it goes further. So, this is a key element to place yourself on financial security. Fourth the fourth element on the path to success is to find a compatible person. Find the right partner. And this is a very important point. Finding the right person, and this also goes back to the first point. Once you find yourself, you will be able to find the right person. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi tells us, Sallu ala Muhammad. He gives us certain priorities, what one should look for. In a hadith from Rasulullah, من تزوج امرأة لمالها وجمالها فله ذلك. Rasulullah said, he who marries a lady for her wealth or for her beauty, that's all that he will take out of that marriage. Her wealth and her beauty, that's all that you're going to take. This is why Rasulullah says, find more important things. Of course, there's nothing wrong with looking for a beautiful woman, someone who's handsome, someone who's well off. However, there are priorities. What's my number one priority? For some individuals, you see some youth, they come to me, they say every time I go and I propose, I am a mu'min, this person is a believer, always at the masjid. The first question that is asked of me is, what's your business? How much money do you have in your bank account? And how much financial security do you have? This is the first thing that certain individuals look for. And you find, unfortunately, that sometimes they're willing to give their daughters, allow their daughters to marry someone who's far from Allah, who does not have faith, who does not have akhlaq, but because he drives a very nice car. This is the priority for some fathers and some mothers today. Now, this will create many problems later on. Do you want your daughter, do you want your son to be with someone who's compatible in faith, or do you want them to be someone who just has money, but no akhlaq, no morality? You have to see what you look for. The hadith of Rasulullah, he says, إِذَا جَاءَكُم مَّن تَرْضَوْنَ دِينَهُ وَخُلُقَهُ فَزَوِّجُوهُ. If someone comes and he proposes to you, to your daughter, and you see that he has deen, he has faith, and he has akhlaq. In another hadith, he has amana, he's trustworthy, فَزَوِّجُوهُ. Give him your daughter. إِن لَمْ تَفْعَلُوا. If you do not, تَكُنْ فِتْنَةٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ وَفَسَادٌ كَبِيرٌ. There will be a great fitna in the land. So, this is one. Finding the right person. And finally, the fifth that will place you on the pathway to getting married is dua. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept our du'as. The ones who are not married, they ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to answer their du'as, because Allah very easily, He can answer the du'as. I will conclude with this one last story, even though it's almost time for iftar, but I will conclude with this story. One of the companions of Rasulullah, by the name of Juwaybir, this companion of Rasulullah, he used to live in the masjid of the Prophet. There was a corner in the masjid where the poor people used to live. That's where they used to stay. That's where they used to sleep. This young man, one day the Prophet came to him and he tells him, "Oh Juwaybir, do you want to get married?" Juwaybir replied, "Yes, I want to get married, but who's going to marry me? I'm poor. I don't have a house. I don't have anything." And the hadith even said about him that this young man, this Juwaybir, he was not very good looking. This is what the hadith said. This young man, he tells the Prophet, "Yes, I want to get married, but who's going to marry me?" Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi tells him, he tells him, go to one of the tribe leaders, one of the Arab tribe leaders who has just joined the religion of Islam by the name of Ziyad ibn Lubayd. Go tell him, I want Rasulullah sent me to propose to your daughter at Danfa. This daughter, she was known for her beauty. And this man, he was known to be a rich man, respected man in the community. Rasulullah, he tells Juwaybir, go and propose to this man. Juwaybir first thought, who said this man's going to accept? Who am I and who is this man? Rasulullah tells him, the religion of Islam, it takes away the caste system. In the eyes of Allah, everyone is through their taqwa. Allah looks at individuals, does not look at their money, their wealth, what they have. So this young man, he goes, he sits, and he tells the father that Rasulullah sent me to propose to your daughter. This young man, the father, he becomes very surprised. He sees that this young man is not from his same status. This person is a Sheikh Ashira, he's a leader of a tribe. And this young man, he doesn't even have a house. He tells Juwaybir, go back to Rasulullah and I will come and I will speak to Rasulullah, because you are not from our same social status. As Juwaybir was leaving, the daughter at Danfa, she heard what her father had said. She calls her father, she said, "Oh my dear father, this is the messenger of Rasulullah. He's saying what Rasulullah told him to say. He's not saying it on his own. If you deny him, that means you are denying the Prophet." So this man, Ziyad, he was a believer. He went and he called Juwaybir and he tells him, I will give you my daughter. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa found out, they got married. But of course, Ziyad ibn Lubayd, he had to come and give him a house. He had to give him new clothes. He had to give him a job. He gave him everything because he's marrying his daughter. The first night, they're getting married. The bride, she walks in on the young man, Juwaybir. This man, Juwaybir, his whole life he's been sleeping in the masjid. Now he finally has a house. Now he has a lady, a beautiful lady, who is his bride. She's coming to him. That night, he stays worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He stays praying. He spends it in sujood and prayer. The next day, at Dalfa, she goes, her family, they ask her, did he come to you? How was your first night? She says, the whole time he spent it praying. He spent the whole time worshipping. So, the first night, they didn't want to tell Ziyad. They didn't want to tell her father. They said maybe the next day. The next day, she goes, she walks in on him. She sees that the whole night, he's praying and he's worshipping. And as soon as the sun comes out, he is fasting. He doesn't touch her. She goes, her father finds out. Her father finds out after 3 days. 3 days, he spends 3 days not touching her. He's fasting during the day and he is worshipping during the night. After 3 days, the father, he found out and he became very upset. He said, what is this? First they come and they take my daughter, and now this is how he's treating her. He's not even talking to her. He's praying the whole time. So Rasulullah, he called Juwayba. Tells him, oh Juwayba, is there anything wrong with you? Are you okay? Juwayba said, there's nothing wrong with me, O Rasulullah. I'm perfectly healthy. There's nothing wrong with me. However, just 3 nights ago, I did not have a house. I did not have money. I did not have a wife. I did not have anything. Now, I saw that within 3 days, my whole life changed. Now I have a wife, I have a house, I have clothes, I have a job. I wanted to spend the first 3 days thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the blessing. And tonight, I promise you, I will fulfill my job and I will not have shortcomings. So Rasulullah sent him. They say the hadith said that this young man, he got married. And then the same hadith, it said that a few weeks or a few months later, Rasulullah went out in jihad and Juwayba was killed in the way of Allah. But this man, Juwayba, he had taqwa in Allah. This young man, he had piety. And his piety, it kept him connected with Allah. He did not give up in the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to answer our du'as and accept our prayers, and the ones who are not married, the ones who are praying to get married, inshallah, Allah answers their dua. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa ala ahli baytihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin.